Hello, today we're doing our last lesson, 10.6, which is on volume. Volume of a cylinder or a prism today. Just like yesterday we did surface area of both, today we're doing volume of both. So our formula says volume is the area of the base multiplied by the height. So volume is really stacked area. So it's like how much water could fit in a cup. That's finding the volume of the cup. So to find the volume, we find the area of the base. In this case, it's a circle for a cylinder. In this case down here, it's a triangle for a triangular prism, or a rectangle for a rectangular prism. We name a prism based on the shape of the bottom. So if we had a pentagon with 5 sides, and that was a prism, we would name that a pentagonal prism, and so on. So we find the area of the base, and then we just multiply it by whatever our height is, or how tall our shape is. And that's the same for each. The only difference is, for a circle, the area of your base is pi times radius squared, pi r squared. So you need to find the radius. If you're given a diameter, you would have to divide it in half. And then down here, remember, area of a triangle is base times height divided by 2, and then you would multiply by the height. That's your area of your base. And here, area of our base is base times height, or length times width. So let's take a look at 3 examples for cylinders first. A cylinder has a base of 32 inches squared and a height of 12 inches. What's the volume of the cylinder? So this one I was really nice to you guys, and I told you the base of the cylinder. So this entire base is 32 inches squared. So our formula, volume equals area of the base times the height. I already know this is the area of the base because it's already in inches squared. That means it's an area. It's two-dimensional. So that's 32 times the height, which is 12. All we have to do is multiply. So if they give us the area of the base, it makes our lives a little bit easier. 32 times 12 is 384. Since we're talking about volume, we now have inches cubed because we already had it squared, flat surface. Then we're making it three-dimensional. That's why we call it a 3D shape, because it's 3 dimensions that we multiplied. Length times width times height. Next, find the volume of a cylinder that has a radius of 8 inches. So we're going to have to do a little bit more work this time. And a height of 14 inches. So, same formula, area of the base times the height, but our base is a circle, pi times radius squared for a circle, and then times our height. So I'm going to use 3.14 for pi. 3.14 times our radius squared, 8 squared, times our height, which is 14. I'm going to evaluate 8 squared first because of order of operations, but your calculator will know that because it's all multiplying here. 8 times 8 is 64. So we have 3.14 times 64 multiplied by 14. So the volume of this cylinder is 2,813 and 44 hundredths cubic inches, or inches to the power of 3, because it's a three-dimensional shape. If we were going to pour water into that cylinder or pop or anything, we would be looking at something we could hold. 3 dimensions. Okay? Last one. This is kind of a 2-part question. It says, you buy the 2 candles shown below. Which candle contains more wax? So what they're really asking us is which has a greater volume. So we need to find the volume of both. So I'm going to look at this one here. I'm going to call this cylinder A and cylinder B. So I'm going to find the volume of, cylinder A first. Whoa, I'm going crazy here. Then I'm going to find cylinder B. So cylinder A, if we have volume equals area of the base, which is a circle, pi times radius squared, times our height. Same thing here. I'm just going to write it twice. Volume equals pi times radius squared times our height. And for each of these, we need a radius. But for both of them, they give us the distance all the way across, which is the diameter. So if the diameter is 4, the radius for this one is half of that, 2. And if this one gives us a diameter of 6, our radius is 3. So on cylinder A, we have pi times 2 to the power of 2, 2 squared, times our height, which is 10. So I'm going to plug that in my calculator. 3.14 times 2 to the power of 2, which is really just 4, times our height. Oops, I put h again. I meant to put 10. Gives us 125.6 inches cubed. And then let's find the volume of the second one. We have pi times our radius, which is 3 squared, times our height, which is 5. We know 3 squared, 3 times 3 is 9, so this is really pi times 9 times 5. 3.14 times 9 times 5 gives us 141.3 inches cubed. So which candle contains more wax? Well, which one has a bigger volume? We could write cylinder 2, or B, whatever you want to call it. So this one contains more wax. Even though it looks smaller or shorter, it's a little bit wider. It actually has a larger volume. Let's flip over to the back side. We still have our same formula for volume, but we have two different shapes. So our bases are going to be different. Now our base is a rectangle. I always think of the base as the one that's flat on the bottom. However, when we get to our triangular prism next, our base is a triangle. Because if we found the area of our base as a rectangle, well, then our height would be, we have two different heights there. That won't work. So when we find our triangle, our base is going to be the triangular shape, because every other side other than our bases are rectangles. So let's go back here to this first one. Find the volume, round to the nearest tenth. Okay, so they give us specific directions this time. Volume is area of the base, which is a rectangle. Our area of our base is 6 times 11, and multiplied by our height, and our height is 3. So 6 times 11 is 66, and we need to multiply that by 3 to get a volume of 198 feet cubed. So we found the area of the base, this piece on the bottom, and then multiplied by our height to kind of fill it in. So on this next one, we're going to look at our area of our base, which is a triangle. So triangles have the formula base times height divided by 2, or length times width. And then we're going to have to multiply by our height of our triangle, which in this case, think of this as lying flat, so it would be really 10. So of our triangle, our base and our height are 12 and 16, so we have 12 times 16, all divided by 2 for a triangle, and then we're going to multiply by 10. So we're finding this area here, and then we have 10 centimeters of triangles, basically. Like, think of our triangles getting lined up over and over and over to fill out our volume. So 12 times 16 is 192, divided by 2 is 96. So we have 96 times 10, which gives us 960. So our volume is 960 centimeters cubed. We have two more shapes that we need to find the volume of. This first one, we have area of our base times the height. Our base is a rectangle. They're all rectangles, so you could really pick any side to be the base. So our base is 9 times 7, and times our height, which is 13. It's easiest with just the rectangular prisms, I find, because they're all just regular numbers. 9 times 7, and then multiply by 13. 819 centimeters cubed. If I wanted to fill this cube with slime, I would need this much slime to fill it up. This next one's a little bit tricky because we haven't looked at finding the area of a trapezoid. So we're still using the same formula, area of the base times the height, but our formula for the trapezoid is to add the bases. We call it base 1 plus base 2, and then we multiply that by our height, base 1, base 2 times our height, and then we're going to divide by 2. That is all just for the base. So our base 1 and our base 2 are the top and the bottom of our trapezoid. If we add those together, we get our, total base length multiplied by our height. That'll give us the area, but we'd have twice as much as we need, so we divide by 2. Then we multiply by the height. So we had this trapezoid in here a whole bunch of times, layered over and over and over, so we have to multiply by 10. So base 1 and base 2, we have 14 plus 8, all multiplied by our height of our trapezoid, which is 4, and then divide by 2. So 14 plus 8 is 22, times 4 is 88, divided by 2 is 44, times 10 from here gives us 440. And that is it. I am going to explain on this slide about the area of a trapezoid, because if we have a trapezoid here, if we have 14, 8, and what was it, 4? Yep. The reason why we add base 1 plus base 2 times our height and then divide by 2 is because if this is 8, let's imagine for a minute that I'm going to take this exact same trapezoid and rotate it and flip it over. It would match up, and over here, oops, if this side is 8, I can make another length of 8 here and flip this side around the 14 here, and this side would match up here. So we really have 2 trapezoids. So if I found the bases, if I add the bases together, I'm really finding this whole length times the height, which is another just parallelogram. If you look here, you guys, this right here is a parallelogram. And I added the 2 bases, 14 plus 8, multiplied by our height, but then I need to divide by 2 because I only want to look at half of that shape.